Asalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to my channel. I pray that you are all in the best of health and iman. If you are new, welcome. My name is Nafisa. I am a Muslimah life coach and I support Muslim women with relationship and mental health issues. So if you're interested in being coached in those areas, you can find me over on my website, which I will leave linked in the description box down below. But over here on YouTube, I make Islamic lifestyle as well as dawah content. So if you're interested in that, then definitely make sure you subscribe. Before all of that, I am actually a teacher and I'm now offering online home tuition for children between the ages of 8 and 18 for maths, English and science, as well as psychology. So if you're interested, definitely make sure you check out my website. Okay, before we even think about attracting anyone into our lives, we ourselves have to understand and know that nothing happens without Allah's permission, and nothing can happen except that Allah says be, and so it becomes. And so first and foremost, we need to go on a spiritual level with this thing and realize that regardless of what our efforts are, regardless of what character traits we possess, if Allah decides that someone isn't for you, or that you're not for someone, or that it's not going to happen between the two of you, then nothing will happen regardless of your efforts. Even if that person is meant for you, if Allah decides that He doesn't put His stamp of approval on it, nothing is going to happen. And so as Muslims, at the end of the day, we have to remember that qadr is something that we have to believe in wholeheartedly. You can't force someone into being part of your qadr unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has planned for it to be. Now, I know some will hear that and say, well, why am I bothering making any efforts at all? I'm going to leave it to qadr. You have misunderstood what the meaning of qadr is. There is the qadr that Allah has written down, in which there is nothing that can change it. And then there is the qadr in which certain things can change. The qadr in which certain things can change include qadrs such as maybe, for example, the type of job you might do, or you're looking for a particular job and whether you get that job or not. Something that relates to the dunya, that relates to your life. Perhaps Allah has willed that if you make dua, then Allah will grant you that thing. So that qadr is essentially changeable depending on your efforts. Positive efforts such as making dua, relying on Allah, depending on Allah, having sabr can lead to a more positive outcome, and negative behaviors such as committing sins can lead to a negative outcome. So that is why we actually need to put our effort into the things that we want to attract into our lives, and so that we can have a more positive result. And therefore, in order to achieve that, we need to display positive behaviors. And so having said all of that, my point here is that you must pray. You must pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides you to the one who is meant for you. This was a dua that I actually made before I met my husband. I would always ask Allah to guide me to my husband and to guide my husband to me. And the reason why I made that dua was because I understood that regardless of my efforts, if Allah doesn't guide my actions, then my actions can become fruitless. And this is what tends to happen sometimes when a lot of us say, we've been doing so much to try to find a spouse, but it's not working out. Well, have you asked Allah to guide your actions so that the things that you do will lead you to that person, and the things that happen in that person's life will also lead them to you? In the end, it's very important that we put Allah at the center of all of this. So I highly recommend that you pray. You ask Allah to bless you with someone who will be good for your deen and your dunya. Both are highly important to pray for, because you might say to Allah, I want a man who is rich, I want a man who looks like this, 6 foot tall and all of that. And sometimes you might get the package that you asked for, but then you come to realize that there were greater things that you missed out of your prayers. And so in order to get a man who will generally be good for you, even ways that you didn't think of, you have to trust Allah for Him to know what is best for you. And He does know what is best for you. And I'm not saying don't ask for specific characteristics, but if you were to make a list, you would be making that dua forever. So a good way to kind of summarize it all is to ask Allah to bless you with a man who will be good for your deen and good for your dunya. A man who will be good for you and good to you. Because sometimes people are good for you, but they're not good to you. As in the way they treat you can be bad. So pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides you to your husband, the one who will be good for you and to you, and the one who will be good for your deen and your dunya as well. The second way to attract a positive, great man into your life is to be a positive person yourself. And so in this circumstance, I would recommend that if you have had some major traumas in your life, please seek therapy. I know this is something people turn their nose down on. It doesn't even have to be any kind of deep therapy. Sometimes just being able to speak out the things that have happened to you and actually get it out of you can make you feel better, to a trusted person. But I would highly recommend that you seek therapy to mend your past traumas. Because sometimes what happens is that if we've had many negative experiences in our past, we carry the consequences of those negative experiences into our future relationships. And if you're not a positive person, if you haven't dealt with your issues and your burdens, you will carry it and place it on top of someone else who has nothing to do with it. And so someone else is having to suffer for something that happened to you in your past that they had nothing to do with, which is highly unfair. And so a great man, I would imagine, wants a woman who is also has positive vibes, a woman who has a positive outlook on life. You know, if you feel like you're depressed and everything is woe is me, or everything is, it's always somebody else's fault, you know, you just have lots of issues, please begin to work on it. It would only make you a better person. And when that man who is meant for you, when he sees you radiating in your light, he will be. The next way to attract a great man into your life is to work on personal development. You know, none of us are perfect and we all have something that we could improve on. And so I'm not saying seek perfection here, but what I am saying is work on yourself, work on your mind, learn more, educate yourself on different things. When I say educate, I don't mean, you know, take the next degree course at university, although if that helps you to achieve your goals, then go for it. But I just mean like, just be much more aware, travel, get to know different people, interact with different people of different races and different classes so that you have a broader understanding of the world. You know, if it's emotional intelligence you need to work on your emotional intelligence. When it comes to personal development, the list is so long and there is so much that you can continue to work on. And I would say do that, because the better of a person you become, the easier it is going to be once more for someone else who is also great to want to be with you, to want to spend the rest of their lives with you. Because we're talking here about attracting a man who can become your husband. We're not just talking about attracting a guy for the short term, because if that's what we were talking about, we would only be talking about physical appearance. But for marriage to work, really, you know, the more you've worked on yourself, the better of a spouse you're going to be to that person. And so this is where, when people talk about these days, you know, what do you bring to the table? Well, you bring whatever you've been working on to the table. You bring the growth to the table, right? You bring knowledge to the table. You bring wisdom to the table. Those are qualities that are going to help you to be able to manage in your marriage, and live a happy and successful married life, inshallah. So please educate yourself. Please work on your personal development. It would only make you a better spouse. The next way to attract a good man is to believe that you deserve a good man. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but unfortunately, sometimes I realize that the issue really isn't with the outside things. Outwardly, we may seem to be successful and all of that, in terms of the way we look, in terms of career, in terms of family life, but really deep down inside, some of us have issues with self-esteem. Some of us don't believe that we deserve someone who is also good. It's hard to attract better into your life if you believe that you don't deserve better. And that is not always a conscious belief. But what I want you guys to try to do is think about the type of men that have been coming into your life, that have been part of your lives, that you've been trying to pursue marriage with and it hasn't been working out. And think about who they are as people. And then ask yourself, is there a pattern? Are there like similar types of men that keep coming and going? If so, why is it that it's only those type of men that only come into your life? One thing I would challenge you here is to say that you're choosing those type of men. You are opening the doors for them to come in. Because, you know, everyone wants something that is good, right? So let's say, for example, there is a diamond. The thief wants the diamond. The guy who wants to get richer wants the diamond. The person with the good hearts wants the diamond. Everybody wants the diamond. So if there is good qualities, and so if there are good qualities about you and you stand out, everybody is going to want to be part of your life. That's a given, right? Irregardless of what their intentions are. However, the people that actually get to enter are the people that you are choosing. Now, the question is, why are you choosing the type of people who aren't serving you? Why is it that you can't say no and put your standards up there? When you dig deep down inside, sometimes the issue is because you actually don't believe that you deserve that. Somehow you think that the good men, either you believe that they don't exist, or you believe that you don't deserve that, either because you're too fat, or you're too dark, or you're too whatever, you're ugly, or you got issues here and there. Like, whatever it is that is making you feel insecure, you think you're not good enough. And so for whatever reason, you only allow people in whom you believe are on the same level as you. But a lot of the times, especially when you're dealing with poor self-esteem issues, it's usually people who are below you. So in order to attract a great man, you actually have to believe that you're someone who deserves a great man. And that will be realistic the more you work on yourself and you also become a great woman. Sometimes what happens is when the good man actually shows up, a lot of women don't even know what to do with it. So we end up self-sabotaging that relationship. We just find a way to mess it all up again, to push that guy away, because we're not used to actually having a great guy into our lives. We're used to the toxic men. We're used to the men that make us feel like rubbish. We're used to always having to find someone to rescue and to pick up, right? And so you really have to question your self-esteem here if you're having issues attracting a great man, because you might find that sometimes that is the issue. But if you can work on that self-esteem, you can believe and trust that you deserve a good man as well, then perhaps that positive mental state will also lead you and make you open for a good man to come into your life. The next way to attract a good man into your life is to have an endearing personality. What do I mean by that? Be someone who is welcoming, a woman who is warm, a woman who just has a positive relationship with most of the people in her life. You're kind to children. Those type of qualities, it would make a good man recognize you. It will make you stand out as a wife, because one of the qualities of having to be a wife is that you enter into a new marriage, you enter into a new family, and you're having to interact with your now in-laws, right? And a man wants to be able to see, a great man wants to be able to know that you're going to get along with most of his family members. And so to have an endearing personality where you're very sensitive, you're very warm, you're very welcoming, you're positive, it just makes you stand out to be someone who, yes, she can be a wife. Sometimes this standoffish attitude that some of us put on at times, it doesn't serve us when we're trying to attract a great man into your life, because you might look nice and look pretty next to him if he just wants to date you. But when he wants to marry you, he's thinking, this one's going to have issues with everybody in my family. This isn't going to work out. And so please try to work on having that endearing personality. It would really make you stand out as a great woman, and therefore you will also be able to catch the eye of a great man who wants to be a part of that, if you allow him. The next way to attract a great man into your life, contrary to what most people believe, is to actually have standards. Yeah, have standards, have your boundaries, and follow through your boundaries. Unlike what a lot of people think, men who are good men and they have boundaries in their lives, they also look for women who have certain boundaries in their lives. In fact, if you are a woman that just lets anything go, like a man can do whatever he wants and get away with it, after a while he begins to lose respect for you, because the truth is you have no respect for yourself, because you have no boundaries. Everyone and anyone can walk all over you just the way they want and get away with it, and nothing will happen. If you want to attract a great man, you have to have standards, you have to have boundaries. A great man wants to know that he can trust his wife. He wants to know that When there is time when he wants his wife to be able to hold things down, she can hold things down, because you know what? There are times when she's also able to be assertive. Sometimes you need that assertive personality trait in order to be able to put boundaries into place so other family members don't step over the line and therefore end up harming your marriage. Because sometimes what happens with people who just let everything go is you have other family members who are just playing the puppet guy, and they're controlling everything, and the spouse is just letting them do it. There isn't a point to which they say, no, this is the line, don't cross it. Respect my spouse, respect my husband, or respect my wife, respect my children. If you're someone that just lets everything go, you really have to work on having standards and having boundaries into place. It makes you more attractive to a good man, because a good man recognizes that, yes, this can be something that can serve me well and can help to actually protect our family when a woman has something like this, and I can trust her with other men as well. Sometimes the best way to make yourself safe from men who are abusive is to be a woman who has standards and she has her boundaries. Because if I give you the first chance, the second chance, and the third chance, and you still think you're going to continue that behavior, I will put consequences into place. And men who are abusive don't like consequences. They don't. They like to do whatever they like and get away with it, and they think that the world owes them everything. And so the quickest way to get rid of a narcissist out of your life is to begin to put boundaries into place. So this quality is very, very important if you are to attract a good man into your life. Last but not least, I didn't want to mention this early because everyone talks about it, but it is important, and I don't want to act like it isn't. And that is for you to be physically as put together as you can. Why? Because men are physical creatures. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to start showing off areas of your body that he has no business seeing until he marries you. But what it does mean is that you're going to take care of your grooming. You're going to take care of your clothing. You're going to make sure your clothing is always clean, pressed, preferably if you like ironing. But if you're like me and you hate ironing, then go for the steamer instead. But just try to look clean, try to look put together, try to look good, look like someone who actually cares about themselves. You know, don't wear those smelly trainers that have been smelling so much because you've been sweating on them and you refuse to get yourself a new pair. Just do your best to make sure you present well. That's all I'm saying. And a good man, most of the time, for what I know, most good men want women who dress to some degree in a modest way. And modesty can mean different things to different people, but most good men don't want their wives dressing up looking like, Hoisha. Okay, so please try to make sure that you look put together, that you're looking good. You don't have to go as far as changing anything physical about yourself. And remember that the way Allah has made you naturally, it's my personal belief that, you will find someone who is attracted to that you won't have to go to the extreme of changing who you are by having surgery and all these crazy things in order to attract a good man. Yes, people are, and people do care about the way people's physical appearance, but I really don't think that it's the only thing that matters to the type of man that you may want to attract, right? I'm assuming here that you all want to attract good men, not just to marry a husband. Because if we're all looking to just marry a husband, then you can find a husband out there. It could just be any guy, right? But if you're looking for the man with the right mentality, then I think that type of a man is looking for you to have more than just the physical things that the rest of society says is the standards. And so please, work on the way you look physically, but be confident in who you are and how Allah has made you. Work on becoming a healthier version of you. That one is very important. But just know that we're not all made to look like this, Some of us are made to look a little bit chubbier, and that's okay. That's okay. As long as you are healthy, that's the most important thing. Last but most certainly not least is for you to get a good reputation. This point really should have been on one of my top lists. But you know what? Getting a good reputation can do so much for you. A good man wants a woman to be on his side, a woman that other people also respect. And getting a good reputation can go a long way for that. And in order to get a good reputation, you actually have to be a good woman, living a good life, as in terms of the self-respect and the way you carry yourself with dignity, with honor. Your behavior is decent. You're not walking around swearing at people, cursing people out, acting all crazy in the streets. You're someone who has your together. Yeah, I don't swear, but you got it together. And so try to be a decent person in your society. Try to contribute to your society in one way or another. That's also a different way to build a good positive reputation, and be a part of good causes. Be involved in good things. If there's charity organizations, be involved in that. A lot of the times you guys keep asking me, where can we find good men? Where can we find good men? Sometimes it's just by you being active in your community, or in the communities in which you think that there could be men that you would like to marry. Be active. And so by getting a good reputation, someone will have something positive to say about you if they are to recommend you to a good man. And so that is the last and final point that I would like to make about how to attract a great man. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Share it with any sister out there whom you believe will benefit from the content of today's video. And inshallah guys, I will see you in my next video. Assalamualaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.